are lots of roads to Berlin, but depend on this. The last few yards before each stop are going to be hand-to-hand, and that means your bayonet. As a bayonet fighter, you must be conditioned to meet and destroy the enemy in hand-to-hand combat. The training is designed to give you confidence and skill in the use of your weapon, to make you physically tough and mentally quick, to instill in you the courage and determination to drive in hard and fast for the kill. First, you will learn the basic position, guard, ready but not rigid. To assume the position of guard, take a short step to the front with your left foot and throw your rifle forward. With your left hand, catch it at the most convenient point forward of the balance so that your left arm is slightly bent. With your right hand, grasp the small of the stock. Hold the rifle firmly but not rigidly with both hands so that the butt presses snugly against the side of your hip and the underside of your forearm is against the comb of the stock. Balance your weight evenly on both feet, hips squarely to the front, and incline your body slightly forward. Your toes should be pointed towards your opponent and your knees slightly bent so you can drive to the front. Prepare yourself for any attack and worry your opponent by keeping your bayonet pointed at his throat. Keep your eyes on your enemy. Look for an opening on his body. The short guard position is the same as the guard position, except that you bring the rifle back so that your right hand is at your hip. It's an excellent carrying position when moving through wooded terrain, around buildings, or any other time when you might meet an enemy at close quarters. Here are some of the errors to avoid in the guard positions. This man's feet are too close together. Keep your feet apart, left foot forward for a well-balanced position. Here the hips are twisted sideways. Keep your hips straight to the front. This man's body is too erect. He'd be a pushover. Keep your weight forward. Baldy's right arm isn't doing its job. He should use it to press his rifle snugly against his hip. Now he's got a firm support. This GI is gripping the rifle tensely. His left arm is locked straight. Loosen up. Your stance should be firm but not rigid. And now the left arm's bent too much. It should be bent only slightly. Don't point your bayonet too high. Aim it at your opponent's throat. When moving across country or at a trot, it'll be more convenient to carry your rifle at high port. To go from guard to high port without changing the position of your feet or the grasp of your hands, lift your rifle up diagonally across your body with the sling to the front until your left wrist is level with and in front of your left shoulder. Notice that the position of the right arm and hand does not change. From this position, it takes only an instant to snap down to guard. By throwing your piece sharply upward and forward from high port, you can gain momentum to jump obstacles. In bayonet fighting, you have to be fast on your feet. A quick whirl might save your life someday. To execute the whirl, first bring your rifle to high port. Spin quickly to the left, pivoting on the ball of your leading foot, and resume the guard position, or make a thrust. To put those 10 inches of steel where they'll do the most good, you have to drive your bayonet home and drive it hard. That was the long thrust. To make the long thrust from the guard position, step in with your rear foot and lunge forward. Put the weight of your whole body into it. As you lunge, drive your bayonet straight at a vital spot on your opponent's body, quickly extending your left arm to its full length so that the bayonet suddenly darts in hard and fast. At the completion of the long thrust, your body should be stretched well forward, your leading knee bent, and your rear leg straight. The comb of the stock should be pressed in against your right forearm. The thrust is one direct, swift movement. The power of your arms, shoulders, back, and legs, and the weight of your whole body drive the blade home. Keep your eyes on the point of attack. Make sure your bayonet goes straight to its mark. Don't draw your rifle back just before starting the thrust. You telegraph your punch that way. That's better. If you make a thrust with your arms alone, you don't get the power of your legs and body into it. No, you made a slight slash as you thrust. Don't do it. Drive straight to the mark. You're carrying the point of the bayonet too high. Bring it down. What's wrong with this picture? That's simple. The butt isn't braced in against the forearm. Press it in. Too easy for the enemy to knock it aside if you don't. Watch this. He took too long a step and lost his balance. Don't be over anxious. This man's body isn't inclined far enough forward. His leading knee isn't bent enough, so he loses a good part of his reach. This is how to do it. After bayoneting your enemy, pull the blade out immediately so you can continue your attack or go on guard. This is how to withdraw your blade. Step in with your rear foot, and then, to prevent wedging your bayonet, jerk your rifle straight back along the line of penetration. Let's look at that footwork again. By straightening your leading leg and throwing the weight of your body to the rear, you use the weight and force of your body to help free the blade. If you down your opponent, put a foot on him and withdraw straight back along the line of penetration. Suppose you're in the guard or short guard position and your enemy is too close for a long thrust. Well, that's easy. Use the short thrust. The short thrust is executed just like the long thrust, except that you lunge forward by advancing the leading foot. You don't move so far forward, but you can do it quicker and get just as much drive into it. See? You withdraw from the short thrust just as you did from the long thrust, and continue the attack or go on guard. This all looks easy, but don't forget, the enemy has a bayonet too, and he'll be coming at you. So you have to learn how to parry an enemy bayonet. Knock it out of the way and make an opening so you can drive your own blade home. You can parry either to the right or to the left. To parry right, lunge forward as in the long thrust. At the same time, drive your rifle to the right just far enough to beat your opponent's blade clear of your body. Do this by straightening your left arm in the direction of the parry. Keep the comb of your stock pressed firmly against the under and inner surface of your right forearm, and keep your piece parallel to the guard position. Rifle to the side first, hesitate, and then make a thrust. What you want is one continuous movement to knock your opponent's rifle aside as you lunge in for a thrust. If you're ready for a short thrust and have to parry, again you parry and thrust in one continuous movement. Now the parry left. As you lunge, thrust your rifle forward and to the left so that the butt is approximately in front of the left groin. In the same forward movement, press your attack with a thrust or a butt stroke. Watch it in slow motion. In bayonet fighting, the thrust is your best attack. But suppose your thrust misses. Suppose your bayonet has been carried off the enemy's body. Well, there are two ends of a rifle. Don't forget the butt. It's heavy and solid and a handy club for close quarters. There are several good butt strokes you can use. First, if you're not closed in on your opponent, give him the vertical butt stroke. Let him have it in the groin or solar plexus or on the chin. Step in with your rear foot and at the same time drive the butt forward and up. Put the force of your whole body behind it. Remember, in with the rear foot, sock the butt forward and up. If your opponent steps back and your butt stroke misses, you're in a good position for the smash. Here's how you can go into the smash from the butt stroke. Step forward with your left foot and drive the butt into his face. Bring up the other foot to keep your balance. If he steps back, press in on him with a diagonal slash. Let's run over this again. Left foot forward, follow with the right. Keep after him and aim your slash at the juncture of his neck and shoulders. Slash his throat, head, or arms. If you miss again, continue the attack. If your opponent has closed in on you, give him a horizontal butt stroke. Step in with your rear foot and with your full weight, swing the butt diagonally upward to his head or body. Keep your forearm in the same plane as the stock of your rifle. If you miss, follow up with a smash or a slash. As soon as you have a working knowledge of the thrusts, parries, and butt strokes, you go to work on the training stick. The coach holds the training stick in the most natural manner. At the beginning, he encourages accuracy by letting you hit the target. But as you attain accuracy and speed, he snatches the stick away and quickly places it for the next attack. In the parries, he places himself about 12 feet away and thrusts the training stick directly at you. He lets you decide which parry to use. After the training stick, you'll go into practice against an actual opponent. That's to let you learn how to judge distance, develop your timing, and to let you get the feel of parrying a real bayonet. When you've learned the technique of the long and short thrusts, you'll practice on swinging dummies. For the first few thrusts, you'll mark a takeoff line. But as soon as you know the range of your thrust, you'll discontinue the use of the takeoff line and practice the thrusts with either foot leading. Though the bayonet is an individual weapon, teamwork may mean the difference between victory and death. That's why your instruction will include training in group assault tactics. Here are two bayonet fighters teaming up to fight a single enemy. Let's slow it down and see how they do it. They run straight forward, but neither moves directly at the enemy. When the enemy turns to fight one of them, the other swings sharply to bayonet him from the flank or rear. If he turns to combat the flank attack, the soldier who is attacking from the front strikes instantly. A similar method is used when three soldiers attack two opponents. They move straight forward until the enemy commit themselves and are engaged. The attacker who is not engaged veers toward the nearest enemy and attacks from flank or rear. But you can't expect to outnumber the enemy all the time. So you've got to know what to do when you're outnumbered. Here, two men are attacking three enemies. Let's slow it down. They move forward, then dart to the flanks and attack quickly, leaving the enemy in the center to the last. As soon as one of the men disposes of his opponent, he attacks the remaining enemy. If you have to fight one against two, it's fatal to get caught between them. Attack one at a time. Watch how this man does it. He moves forward, darts quickly to one flank, and attacks one of the enemy. As soon as he disposes of one, he wades into the other. When there is no numerical advantage, coordinated attacks to gain this advantage can be executed. Pick one enemy to attack. When you finish him, go at the other. In combat, you may break your rifle, but that doesn't mean you're helpless. These men are being taught how to take a rifle away from an enemy and kill him with his own bayonet. Here is one way you can do it. Now let's see it in slow motion. With your right hand, shove the bayonet to the left and sidestep to the right. Seize the rifle with your left hand and strike the inside of his elbow with your right. Jerk the rifle over his shoulder, twist it away from him, then turn and let him have it. Here is the second method. Now slower. Shove the bayonet to the right and sidestep to the left. Seize the piece in both hands, jerk it over the attacker's shoulder, and twist it from his hands. You must also know basic methods of knife disarming. This is what you can do to an overhand attack. Slowed down, here's how it works. Block the knife blow with your left arm. With your right arm, reach behind his knife arm, grasp your left wrist, and put on the pressure. He'll drop the knife, and with a little more pressure, you can break his arm. Here is an underhand attack. Come on, slow it down so we can all get it. Sidestep to the left and knock the knife aside. With your right hand, grasp his wrist and twist. At the same time, put pressure on his elbow. Kick a leg out from under him, and he's all yours. Now everybody tries it. The last phase of bayonet training is conducted on the assault course, a combination obstacle course and cross-country run. It's the nearest approach to actual bayonet fighting. In order to keep in fighting trim, you should run this course frequently, not just during the bayonet training period. In all of your training in hand-to-hand combat, remember that to fight with the bayonet and win, you must combine speed and coordination with a ruthless, driving spirit of assault.
A well-disciplined enemy will not be driven from his position by fire alone. Making full use of cover and concealment, he will remain in his position until driven out in hand-to-hand combat. The rifle and the bayonet, used in a skillful and aggressive manner, are the best weapons to drive an enemy from his position, either in trench or in open warfare. The will to use the bayonet must be instilled in all men. This spirit, combined with confidence in the rifle and with the ability to shoot, enables the firing line to close with and destroy the enemy. This is the overwhelming influence behind every successful bayonet assault. Each man must be taught to think and act for himself, and that there is no interval between thought and action. Physical agility and mental alertness are taught by various quickening exercises and games that require quick thinking and instantaneous muscular response. The bayonet is essentially an offensive weapon. The bayonet fighter rushes straight at an opponent with the point threatening his throat and delivers a thrust whenever an opening presents itself. If no opening is obvious, one must be made by deflecting the opponent's piece and continuing to bore in. The thrust must be driven home at the first opening. A fifth of a second's delay may cause a man to lose his life. For preliminary instruction, the group is lined up in a single rank with an interval of 3 paces between men. The first position in which the soldier is instructed is guard. The rifle is held firmly but not rigidly with both hands, without canting. The point of the rifle is directed at the opponent's throat. The left hand, palm against the side of the rifle, is at the most convenient position in front of the rear sight, so that the left arm is only slightly bent. The right hand, palm to the left, grasps the small of the stock, and the right forearm presses the upper part of the butt to the body. The legs are separated as in taking a natural step and meeting with resistance, with the left foot leading and both knees slightly bent. The position is not constrained in any way, but is one of aggressiveness, alertness, and readiness to spring forward in instant attack. One of 3 methods may be used to take the guard position. First, throw the piece forward with the right hand, grasping it simultaneously with both hands in the guard position. Second, move the rifle forward with the left hand, grasp it with the right. Third, move the rifle forward with both hands between the bands and re-grasp with the right hand at the small of the stock. The next demonstration will show some of the common errors made in taking the guard position.
Cut! Well, that looks pretty good. You feel ready to attack in any direction?
Yes, sir.
All right, jump around a bit. Let's see. All right. Press. Cut! Your left arm should be bent slightly. See there? You didn't have the butt of the rifle braced. Keep the rifle braced between the forearm and the body. Take it. If the arm is straight, then when you thrust, step forward to thrust, you will not impart a darting effect to the point. Watch. See that? The point goes forward the same speed the body does. Makes it easy to evade. But if the arm is bent slightly, then when you straighten it when you thrust, you impart a darting effect which makes it hard to judge. See that? All right, now take the correct position. That's better. Rest. Cut! Yeah, keep the point of the bayonet pointed up, opponent's throat. That'll have a demoralizing effect on him, cause him to flinch. When you advance on him, you wave back and forth in front of his eye. Also, keep the barrel up, otherwise your bayonet guard will get hung up on your opponent's piece. That's a defensive position. Always keep the barrel up, and then you can shove right on through with your stroke. All right, take the correct position now. That's better. Rest. Cut! You're holding your muscles too tense. Hold the rifle firmly, but not rigidly. If your muscles are tense, you have to relax them to bring them into play again. Another thing, your feet are too much in line. You notice how easily you were pushed off balance. Now here's the way the feet should be. Assume that you're walking along and you meet with some resistance. The feet are separated laterally, both knees slightly bent, weight equally on the balls of both feet, so that you can shift around and attack in any direction. Not tense and tight like that, but relaxed. Get the idea?
Yes, sir.
All right, take the correct position. That's better. Press. Cut. Well, your position is not aggressive enough. You're leaning back too far. Lean forward this way. That's it. Better. Your right foot is pointed to the right. You're what we call a ground gripper. The foot should be pointed as in walking, to the front. If you turn your foot to the right, as it is now, when you thrust, you'll hold yourself back in that way. We want you to place the feet so that when you thrust, you'll be thrown off balance forward, and we'll have to take another step to maintain your balance. Watch me. Watch me deliver this thrust here. Notice, carry it into your opponent. That's exactly what we want. As long as you stand off, you're at a disadvantage, but you're at an advantage if you get in close to him. All right, now take the position correctly. Get the right foot around more. As in walking, get a good flexible position. That's it. Rest. Park. That's a good position. You feel all right? Ready to attack in any direction?
Yes, sir.
Jump around a bit. Let's see. All right. Press.
To continue executing the movements by command will produce mechanical execution, deaden the initiative, develop hesitation, and ignore the training of the soldier's eye. Direct appeal to the brain by signals through the eye must be used as early and as much as practicable. To signal guard, assume the position of guard, left hand at back, right elbow at the side, the right forearm pointing to the front with the fist clenched. Signals indicate an opening which the soldier sees and acts upon without delay or hesitation. Each soldier must be taught to think and act for himself, and as far as possible to execute the exercises without command. To assume the position of short guard, the left hand grasps the rifle just under the stacking swivel. The left arm is slightly bent. The right hand grasps the small of the stock and rests against the right hip. The point of the bayonet is directed at the base of the opponent's throat. The position of the body, legs, and feet are the same as in the guard position. The errors common to guard also apply to the short guard. The signal for short guard is the same as for guard, except that the arm is drawn straight to the rear until the fist is at the right side. The next position is high port. From the guard, without changing the grasp of the hands, carry the rifle diagonally across the body until the left wrist is level with and in front of the left shoulder. The position of high port is habitually taken when advancing to the immediate assault, in jumping trenches, or in surmounting obstacles. In jumping trenches, the rifle is thrown forward on the takeoff and brought to high port or guard in landing. To assume the position of rest from guard, lower the piece smartly to the side, with the butt resting on the ground near the right foot and the right hand grasping the piece above the lower band. The feet remain as in the position of guard. Position of rest is taken frequently to permit physical relaxation after vigorous and aggressive execution of the various movements. Men remain on the alert mentally, ready to execute quickly indicated movements. Speed is an important factor in bayonet training. The whirl provides a rapid movement to face in a new direction. Men must be instructed to whirl about and to deliver a thrust, a butt stroke, or a blow in a decisive, aggressive manner. To whirl about from a run with the piece at high port, whirl about on the ball of the left foot and plant the right foot firmly. At the same time, snap the piece down and assume the guard position. If at a halt in the guard position, bring the rifle to high port, and if the left foot is advanced, whirl to the left about on the ball of the left foot to gain distance. Whirl to the right on the ball of the right foot if it is desired to close in. In this manner, the rifle is brought to guard as the whirl is completed. If the right foot is advanced, whirl to the right about on the ball of the right foot to gain distance, and to the left about on the ball of the left foot to close in. Here are some of the common errors of the whirl. Distance was not gained in this whirl, with the result that the point of the bayonet was beyond that of the opponent. It is best to gain distance when whirling about to meet an attack from the rear, to avoid whirling into the bayonet point of the opponent. The whirl should be executed without hesitation. Also, keep your point between yourself and your opponent. This is an excellent whirl. It put the point of the bayonet in a threatening position. If the rifle is kept at guard while whirling, as in this case, the point may go beyond an opponent, closing in rapidly. By bringing the piece to high port, the piece will be in a position to fend off blows as one whirls. When the positions of guard, high port, rest, and the whirl have been taught, the section is now ready for instruction in the execution of the various movements. The section is formed for bayonet training in 2 ranks, 10 yards apart, facing in, and with 3 paces between men. The position of guard is assumed. At the signal to assemble, each man comes to high port and runs to his position in the section. Each man, except the base man, runs directly to his proper position, taking the guard position on arrival. This formation provides each man a target at which to direct the various thrusts and strokes. Exercises are practiced slowly by the numbers, beginning with the guard and rest positions. Later, as proficiency is increased, the speed is increased, so that ultimately an entire sequence of movements can be executed without hesitation. The point of the bayonet should be directed at the opponent's throat, especially in hand-to-hand combat, so that a few inches penetration will easily inflict a fatal wound. Other vulnerable and frequently exposed parts are the face, the chest, the lower abdomen, the thighs, and when the back is turned, the kidneys. The armpits and throat are especially vulnerable to the jab. The long thrust is the most effective blow that can be delivered from the guard position. The rifle is gripped with all possible strength, and the point is driven vigorously from the guard position to the full extent of the left arm, while the entire body is extended quickly to the front, and the butt runs along the inside of and against the right forearm. The left arm is used more to direct the point of the bayonet. In delivering the thrust, the right elbow is carried low, with the butt of the rifle remaining between the right forearm and the body. The leading knee and ankle are well bent. The rear leg is braced with the heel raised, and the body is inclined well forward. The power of the thrust comes from the right arm, the shoulders, the back, the legs, and the weight of the body. A vigorous thrust delivered without advancing throws a man off balance, but in fighting he preserves his balance by stepping in immediately after the thrust has been delivered. After a man has learned the details of the thrust, he will always deliver it while advancing. The eyes must be fixed on the target of the thrust. In making thrusts other than straight to the front, the leading left foot should move laterally in the direction in which the thrust is to be made at an opponent, at a range of 5 feet from the attacker's eye. The darting forward of the point at the last instant gives it added speed, making it more difficult to judge.
Long thrust. That's a very good thrust. Had lots of power and dart in it. Body's well extended. Leading knee and ankle are well bent. Body's braced between your right forearm and your body. Very good. Recover. Long thrust. Recover. Now you made the error of telegraphing your thrust by drawing the rifle back just before you thrust, like this. That enables your opponent to avoid the thrust. Remember that quickness and deception are important factors in bayonet fighting. Don't let your opponent know when you're going to thrust. To do this, you must thrust out from the guard position. You get sufficient power by straightening the left arm and stepping into the rear foot. Watch me in this manner. Get the idea? All right, try it. Long thrust. That's better. Notice the darting effect you got to the point there. Straight out. Recover. Long thrust. Well, the butt of your rifle is too low, not braced. Show you what'll happen when that's the case. Powerful parry might twist the rifle out of your hands that way. All right, step back. Now, in delivering the thrust, you brace the butt to prevent the rifle from being twisted out of your hand. And you do that by carrying the right elbow low as the thrust is made. Notice the right elbow is down, and the butt is braced between the body and the right forearm. Should always do that when thrusting. Try it. Long cut. That's better. Recover. Long cut. All right, recover. The fault you made there was that you straightened the arm too soon before you stepped in with your thrust. Result was that the point moved forward at the same speed as the body, making it easy to sidestep. And the thrust is delivered by stepping into the rear foot, straightening the arm just a fraction of a second before the rear foot is planted forward. That then imparts a darting effect and assures the weight of the body being behind the thrust. Watch me. Notice the dart there, the weight behind the thrust. All right. Try it. Long thrust. That's much better. Recover. Long thrust. Recover. Well, that thrust was all right, except that the point did not travel on a straight line to the mark, but it dropped as it moved forward, like that. Now, to take instant advantage of an opening, the point must travel along the shortest line to the mark. That also gives it more penetrating power, like this. Right at the mark. Get the idea?
Yes.
All right, try it again. Cut! Long thrust. That's better. Recover. Cut! Long thrust. Your body is too erect. In delivering the thrust, the body's inclined forward, so that the leading knee and ankle are well bent. That increases the reach and also gives greater power to the thrust. Now come forward. Way forward. That's it. Get well behind the piece that way. All right, execute it. Long thrust. Good.
To signal long thrust, place the right palm, fingers apart and extended, to that part of the body toward which the thrust is to be made. To withdraw the bayonet following a long thrust, the left hand is slipped toward the stacking swivel, the rifle is jerked straight back along the line of penetration with the force and weight of the body until the right hand is behind the hip. This without unduly relaxing the grip on the small of the stock. Notice that the weight of the body is carried to the rear by straightening out the leading leg and the body at the waist. The foot in rear will be advanced quickly as the left hand is slipped forward, unless the proximity of the transfixed object renders it unnecessary. Some of the errors of the withdrawal will be illustrated next. Here the butt of the rifle is dropped, making withdrawal slow and difficult and straining the bayonet. Notice that the butt of the piece almost touches the ground. This man cants his rifle. This increases the difficulty of withdrawal and may cause the bayonet to hang up on the transfixed object and be broken. Only the arms are used here. The weight of the body must be thrown into the action to force quick withdrawal. There is no force to the withdrawal as this man does it. This man throws himself off balance. A man must be in a position upon completion of the withdrawal to move about and resume the attack. The point of the bayonet is dropped a little too low here. After instruction has been completed in the positions of guard, long thrust, and withdrawal, the instructor demonstrates the sequence of movements to a group under instruction. The movements are to be executed slowly at first, and the speed increased as the group becomes more and more proficient. Here is a group under instruction.
All right, this time we'll execute long thrust, withdrawal, back to guard in sequence by the numbers first. Hup! Now then, you'll execute long thrust and hold. Hup! Now at 2, you step up with the rear foot, slide the left hand to the stacking swivel. Hup! Next, you'll withdraw. Hup! Back to guard. Whirl, hup, back to places. This time you'll execute the long thrust with the 1-2 and hold. Hup! Withdraw. Back to guard. Whirl, hup, back to places. Entire sequence. Hup! Rest. Entire sequence. Hup!
Following this, the class working in pairs and without command practices the execution of the movements by thrusting at the opposite man's hand as it is placed in various positions on the body. Crossover exercises, including the movements covered to date, may be used to give variety and interest. The section is then trained to thrust at a disc or circle painted on a dummy at a distance of about 5 feet. Later, the distance is increased to several paces. The bayonet is withdrawn, and a forward threatening attitude is assumed immediately at the side of or beyond the dummy. This man rushed the dummy and permitted the weight of his body to carry the bayonet into the target without thrusting. This should not be done. On the other hand, rushing a dummy and gently pricking it with the point of the bayonet because of misjudged distance or faulty use of the arms should not be done. Rush at a dummy at top speed. Execute a vigorous, aggressive thrust and a withdrawal. These drills should be practiced throughout the entire course of instruction in bayonet training. From a position of guard, short guard is assumed by shifting the left hand quickly toward the muzzle and drawing the rifle back until the right hand is against the right hip, without unduly relaxing the grasp on the small of the stock or moving the butt of the piece upward or downward. The point is at the height of the neck. The short thrust is vigorously delivered to the full extent of the left arm, as in the long thrust. When immediately preceded by the long thrust, the short thrust is delivered from the position of withdrawal from the long thrust. It is delivered vigorously to the full extent of the left arm. Errors are common to those of the long thrust. The signal for the short thrust is the same as for the long thrust, except that the fist is closed. Proper position for the movement is taken when necessary upon the signal short thrust. The withdrawal from the short thrust will be practiced in two ways. First, in the same manner as from the long thrust. Second, if a strong withdrawal is necessary, or the short thrust is to be followed immediately by the jab, the right hand is slipped up in the rear of the left hand, and a forceful withdrawal is made, similar to that from the long thrust, in this manner. The errors are similar to those of the withdrawal from the long thrust. The instructor demonstrates the sequence to include the withdrawal from the short thrust.
All right, now we will execute the sequence. Long thrust, withdrawal, short thrust, withdrawal, back to guard in detail. Start! We'll execute long thrust, withdrawal, and hold. Up! Now then, from this position, step in, deliver your short thrust, and hold. Up! Now next, you will step up with the rear foot. At the same time, bring the right hand to a position immediately below the left. Up! Now then, with a downward pressure of the left hand and upward pressure of the right, yank the piece straight back. Up! Back to guard. Whirl, up! Back to your places. Long thrust, withdrawal, and hold. Up! Now then, step in, deliver your short thrust, the 1, 2, and hold. Up! Yank it back. Back to guard. Whirl, up! Back to your places. Entire sequence. Up! Lots of drive. Rest.
By placing 2 or more circles on the dummies, the short thrust may be taught in conjunction with the long thrust. The first disc transfixed by the long thrust, the second by the short thrust. The jab is the movement immediately following the withdrawal from the short thrust. The rifle is brought to an almost vertical position close to the body along the outside of the right leg, with the butt near the right foot. From this position, or stepping in if necessary, with the knee bent using the full force of the body, the bayonet is jabbed upward into the throat or other parts of the enemy. We have seen the movement in slow motion. Here is another view of the movement. Notice that the force of the body is placed behind the jab. Now we will see the jab at normal speed. The section now demonstrates some of the common errors. This is a correct jab. The rifle was not pressed against the leg. Pressing the rifle against the leg during the jab ensures it's traveling in a straight line. The right hand is too low. If both hands are close together, it is easier to direct the point and apply more speed and power. This man uses his arms only and does not put the power of the shoulders and body behind the jab. This jab is too high and not vigorous. It must be a short, vigorous, and sharp movement to cause the bayonet to penetrate. The signal for the jab is given by placing both closed fists under the chin. The instructor demonstrates the sequence of movements to include the jab.
Execute the sequence: long thrust, withdrawal, short thrust, withdrawal, and jab. Cut! Execute long thrust, short thrust, withdrawal, and hold. Hup! Now then, from this position, you will jump forward. At the same time, lower the butt of the rifle so that the rifle is almost to a vertical position, keeping the stock of the rifle against the right thigh. Hup! Now, by straightening the legs vigorously and hunching the shoulders, deliver a jab at your opponent's throat twice. Hup! Back to guard. Whirl, hup! Back to your places. Entire sequence, lots of pep. Let's go. Hup! Rest. Well, that sequence was executed all right as far as the movements of the band and the feet were concerned. But you made one bad fault. You hesitated, paused between your movements. You executed that sequence too much in cadence, somewhat like this. And so on. You've got to have drive in your execution of these movements. It's very important that there be no time between execution of movements. There's no object in waiting once you've delivered a blow to execute the next one. Time is an important factor. You should execute that sequence somewhat like this. Get the idea? Always get the point back immediately. Ready in position to hit, or hitting, or recovering from a hit. Don't pause between your movements. Drive right on through with it. All right, try it again now. Ready? Hup!
It is important that the bayonet fighter keep the point between himself and his opponent. In case the opponent sidesteps, a rapid withdrawal will put the point in position to jab. The movement is executed slowly at first, and later the speed is increased. The coach jumps back after each signal to permit the pupil to execute the movements and to have a target at which to aim. At first, the coach moves back in a straight line. Later, he changes direction. Men are further trained in the sequence of positions by the use of the coach and pupil method. Starting from guard position, long thrust, withdrawal, short thrust, withdrawal, and jab are executed in sequence. Group exercises follow, with each member of the pairs alternately acting as coach and pupil. Mental alertness coupled with speed and accuracy of execution are taught by this method. Other drills involving different arrangements of the movements covered so far may be used to give variety and to retain interest. The parry right from the position of guard. The body is thrust forward to the full extent of the reach, and the left arm is straightened vigorously without bending the wrists or twisting the rifle in the hands. At the same time, engaging the opponent's piece and deflecting it just clear of the body. The barrel is kept up with the point threatening the opponent's body, preferably the throat. This shows how the opponent's piece is engaged with the point threatening the throat. Note that very little lateral movement is necessary to deflect the point of the opponent's piece and to make an opening to drive home a thrust. The parry right is normally followed by a thrust or a butt stroke. This shows parry right, long thrust, withdrawal, and back to guard in slow motion. Here it is at normal speed. In the parry left, the point is carried out of line with the opponent's body, but can be brought back quickly as it is nearer the line than the opponent's point. The parry is an offensive movement and should be executed with a forward movement of the body and a small lateral movement of the piece. The eyes follow the opponent's piece during the parry and then are fixed on the point of attack on the opponent's body. The parry left is followed immediately with a thrust or a butt stroke to the ribs or jaw. Following the demonstrations by the instructor, the various errors are pointed out. This parry is correctly done. This parry is made with too much lateral movement and not enough forward movement. A wide parry gives no advantage over the opponent because your point is as far from his body as his point is from your body. The object is to deflect his piece clear of your body and to keep your point directed on him. This man does not keep his eyes on the opponent's piece. As soon as the parry is completed, the eyes are instantly fixed on that part of the opponent's body to be attacked. The arms only are used in this parry with no force behind the movement. A quick, sharp, powerful blow with strength and momentum of the body behind it must be used to deflect the opponent's piece. This man crosses his arms in making the parry, getting into an awkward position from which it is difficult to recover quickly and exposing himself to attack or a loss of his piece during the movement. This man executes the parry in an excellent manner with lots of drive and speed. To signal a parry, strike a blow diagonally across the body in the direction of the parry with the fists closed. Men will be taught to execute the parries upon signal. The parry may now be used in the sequence of movements, on signals. The group is now instructed in the sequence of movements to include the parries. The training stick is used for instruction in parrying. Working in pairs, one man thrusts the padded end of the stick and the other man parries the blow. Each pair works independently with the instructor supervising the exercises. This shows the correct use of the parry stick. This man is swinging the stick into the pupil from the side, causing a wide sweeping parry by the pupil. the parry stick should be thrust in a straight line at the pupil to force him to parry with a forward movement. Just fooling. This may be lots of fun, but it is not good training. Don't hesitate and don't make false starts or signals. Such actions cause hesitation and delay, which are fatal defects in bayonet fighting. Later, the pupil is taught to execute a parry, followed by a long thrust, a withdrawal, and back to guard position. One end of the stick has a rope loop through which a thrust is made when that end is presented. The training stick is used in this work with the pupil increasing his speed and vigor as his proficiency increases. The coach and pupil method is used with the pairs alternating with the stick. Here, the entire group is at work with each pair executing the movements independently under the supervision of the instructor. In making vertical butt stroke number 1, swing the butt of the rifle upward at the opponent's crotch, ribs, forearm, or any exposed portion of the body, using a half-arm blow, and at the same time step in with a rear foot. This is a powerful stroke. Note the glaring errors. This man swings the butt too high above his face and exposes his body to attack. Always be prepared to fend off or deliver another blow. This man keeps his arm too straight and is off balance. It should be a half-arm movement with the muscles and the momentum of the body giving force to the blow. From a horizontal position above the shoulder, resulting from a miss on butt stroke number 1, the attacker jumps forward and dashes the butt of the rifle into the opponent's face in this manner. This man makes the blow too low, with loss of accuracy, power, and balance, and exposes himself. The butt should move in a straight line to the target. Having missed the blow, the attacker closes in again and slashes his bayonet on the opponent's head or neck. In the event of a miss again, the attacker will be back in the guard position. This man makes his blow in a vertical arc so that it would strike the opponent's helmet. The slash should be executed diagonally at the junction of the neck and shoulders. If the point is beaten or brought down during the slash, the butt can be used effectively by crashing it down with an overarm blow. If the opponent is still out of distance, return to the guard position. This man makes the movement too wide and exposes the body to attack. The various vertical butt strokes in sequence are: number 1, the uppercut blow at any exposed portion of the body. Number 2, a crashing drive to the head with the butt of the piece. The slash downward aimed at the opponent's neck and shoulders. Vertical butt stroke number 3, crashing over and down on the head of the opponent, and back to guard. After the demonstration of the sequence by the instructor, the group practices the various vertical butt strokes. An uppercut with the right fist signals butt stroke number 1. Straight right from the shoulder indicates butt stroke number 2. To signal slash, carry the right hand upward over the right shoulder with fingers extended and joined and slash downward. An overarm blow indicates the vertical butt stroke number 3. The men are next trained to go through the vertical butt strokes in sequence by use of signals. Speed is increased as the groups become more proficient. Next, horizontal butt stroke number 1. With a half-arm blow, swing the piece at the opponent's jaw while advancing the rear foot. This man makes an excellent stroke. This man makes his stroke too wide and uncovers himself and loses his balance. He is not ready to deliver another blow. This man's arms are too straight. He loses power and accuracy. The momentum of the body and the power of the shoulders should be behind the blow. This man uses his arms only. This gives a weak, puny blow, lacking the driving power of the body. If the opponent jumps back and the first blow misses, the rifle is above the left shoulder. The attacker will jump in and dash the butt of the piece into the opponent's face or slash the bayonet against the opponent's neck. And back to guard. The errors are similar to those of the vertical butt stroke number 2 and the vertical slash. The signal for horizontal butt stroke number 1 is given by making a right hook. For number 2, straight from the right shoulder with the fist closed. For the slash, carry the right hand upward over the right shoulder with fingers extended and joined and slash downward. A quick review of all signals. Guard. Short guard. Long thrust. Short thrust. Jab. Parry right. Parry left. Vertical butt stroke number 1. Vertical butt stroke number 2. Slash. Vertical butt stroke number 3. Horizontal butt stroke number 1. Horizontal butt stroke number 2. And slash. A review of the movements from guard to jab inclusive in slow motion. Guard. Long thrust. Withdrawal. Short thrust. Withdrawal. Jab. And back to guard. The training stick is used to obtain good direction and quickness in the use of the bayonet. The men work in pairs as coach and pupil. One end of the stick is padded and the other has a rope ring. Parries and butt strokes are made with a padded end. Thrusts and jabs at the loop end. As the end of the stick touches the ground, the pupil comes to guard and attacks with a thrust, jab, parry, or butt stroke as the distance and end indicates. Squad exercises with the training stick are used to arouse interest in the members of the squad alert and in giving variety to the movements. Squad competitions may also be used to stir enthusiasm and interest. Each man in the line has his stick in position for one of the thrusts, butt strokes, or the jab. Flagrant loss of balance, useless movements of the piece, or a tendency toward wildness should be counted against the squad scores. These competitions should not be attempted until the men have attained a reasonable proficiency with the bayonet in those movements expected of them in the competition. The first method of disarming an opponent armed with a rifle and bayonet. Close in fast and fend off the opponent's thrust with the right hand. Step forward and seize his left hand with both hands, your left over his palm, the right over his fingers. Make a sharp twist outward and upset your opponent by pushing him backward as you trip him with your right foot or leg. This time the action will be slightly faster. From another viewpoint, slowly. Now the pair demonstrates the method at full speed, changing places as each is disarmed. The second method. Fend off the opponent's thrust with the right hand. Step in and grasp his rifle just below the bayonet with the left hand, back of hand down. At the same time, hack or grasp his left forearm with the right hand. And continuing to bear down on the arm, swing the rifle violently upward and over to the right, and step in and kick or bring the knee into the opponent's body. Slightly faster. And now at full speed. The third method. Fend off the opponent's thrust with the left hand. Step in and kick him in the crotch or on the shin. Grasp the rifle just below the bayonet with the right hand, back of hand down, and with the left hand grasp the top of the receiver. Swing the rifle upward and over to the left, and force the point of the bayonet to the ground. Step in and back heel the opponent at the same time. This time will be about half normal speed. And now at full speed. This demonstration shows the use of the three methods at the option of the defender. The scabbard is left on the bayonet to guard against injuries to the opponents. Practice in this work begins at a slow speed until the men have mastered the various holds, and then the exercises are speeded up to approximate that of a regular bayonet attack. To disarm an opponent attacking with a knife in the overarm attack. Close in fast. With the left forearm, block the knife arm before it becomes extended. Carry the right forearm in rear of the opponent's forearm and grasp your own forearm with the right hand. Backward pressure will cause the opponent to drop the knife and may break his elbow. In the underhand attack, as the blow comes upward, the disarmer steps quickly outside the thrust and knocks the arm aside with the left forearm. He then grasps the opponent's wrist with his right hand, at the same time carrying his left arm over and under the opponent's knife arm, above the elbow. An upward pressure with the left arm and a twisting downward pressure with the right hand will cause the opponent to drop the knife and will probably break his elbow. Speed Aggressiveness and accuracy are increased by men working in pairs and disarming each other by the various methods. Men are trained in teamwork. Whenever possible, two men attack one of the enemy. They attack one opponent at a time, and while one diverts his attention, the other attacks him from the exposed side. Each day during bayonet training, men should spend a short time in thrusting at dummies. The bayonet qualification course consists of 8 dummies, which are targets for parries, thrusts, jabs, and butt strokes. At the end of the course, there are 2 E-targets representing a fleeing enemy. A cardboard disc, 6 inches in diameter, is pasted on each dummy except the butt stroke dummies and the jab dummy to provide targets for thrusts. On those dummies requiring a parry prior to the thrust, the cardboard disc is located so that it is necessary to make the parry in order to score a hit on the disc. All long thrust and butt stroke dummies are equipped with parry sticks. Dummies of this type require either parry right or left before executing the long thrust. This type of dummy requires a short thrust. This dummy requires a parry left and a horizontal butt stroke. This dummy also requires a parry left and a butt stroke, but in this case the butt stroke is vertical. This dummy requires a jab. These are the 2 targets which represent a fleeing enemy. The firing of one shot at each of these dummies must be simulated to complete the course. In running the course, the proper stroke, thrust, or parry must be made at each dummy as prescribed in the basic field manual on instruction with a bayonet. Judges start, time, and award all scores. The maximum score is 66 points. Each correctly executed parry scores 2 points. Execution of the proper thrust so as to cut the cardboard disc and penetrate the dummy scores 6 points for each target requiring a thrust. Each butt stroke dummy must be completely upset by the butt of the rifle for a score of 6 points each. A correct jab gets a score of 6 points. The correct simulation after arrival at the firing point of firing 1 round at each of 2 targets earns 4 points per target. Only 1 thrust, jab, or butt stroke per dummy will be allowed. Those running the course will wear the service uniform without hat or coat. No hobnails or spikes will be worn on the shoes. All men running the course will wear the web cartridge belt for the rifle. Failure to attack any dummy or to simulate firing at least 1 aimed round gets a score of 0 for the trial. Time required in excess of 40 seconds cancels all score credits. Let us observe more in detail how the course is run. The soldier takes the prone position in rear of the starting point. At the command, "Up," he springs to his feet and with a rifle at high port runs toward the first dummy. He assumes the guard position 5 paces from the dummy and, arriving in proper position, executes a parry left, long thrust, and withdrawal at number 1. At number 2, he executes a parry left and a horizontal butt stroke. At number 3, a parry left, long thrust, and withdrawal. At number 4, a short thrust withdrawal. At number 5, a parry left and a vertical butt stroke. At numbers 6, 7, and 8 in turn, a parry right, long thrust withdrawal, short thrust withdrawal, a jab. And then to the firing point, where the soldier must simulate loading and firing one aimed round at each of the 2 E targets from a standing position without sling and with battle sight. This time the action will be at normal speed. In position, up. At number 1, parry left, long thrust withdrawal. At 2, parry left and horizontal butt stroke. At 3, parry left, long thrust withdrawal. At 4, short thrust withdrawal. At 5, parry left, vertical butt stroke. Next, parry right, long thrust withdrawal, short thrust withdrawal, jab. And at the firing point, simulate loading and aiming 1 round at each target. These men have completed a thorough and aggressive course in bayonet training. They have ability and confidence in the rifle and bayonet and are instilled with a fighting spirit, which they will carry to the battlefield. Fire alone will not drive a well-disciplined and determined enemy from a well-protected position. The bayonet will do the work. The enemy is pinned to the ground but cannot be driven out by fire. The section leader decides to close with him in hand-to-hand combat. Bayonets are fixed and assault fire is used to subdue the enemy until the section is close enough to make a bayonet charge. The time has come for that charge. The enemy, fearing the threat of cold steel in the hands of a determined foe, gives up his position and flees in disorder.